Is your camera on?
You know, it's really bad.
Just crank it up.
In my opinion, as smart as we are, as globally friendly as we should be, I think we got people that are really making decisions.
All right. Give me a little.
The moderator.
I'm always going like this, you know, like a little.
Like the opposite.
Right. Right.
Lou. Yeah, if you need a reference, because I can put a lot of letters after my name and make the Maybe. I tried to call you. You guys need anything for Saturday? If you need anything, us to pick up at St. If you need something from St. on Saturday, I'll be there at 10:30 on Saturday. If you need you're fine. Thanks for Alleghany.
Oh, good time. We tried. What's that? We can.
See Gabe this year.
So far, one. He's got one Friday. He's got Ken's yeah. I get the even though Gabby we're still in a family is part of it.
Yes. Now I said that's one that would be able
Yeah. Look where it's going.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. All right. Welcome and thank you for your attendance this evening for the Alleghany Highlands School Board Candidates Forum, hosted by the Alleghany Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. Thank you, candidates, for your participation in tonight's event. We appreciate Alleghany Highlands Public Schools and Amy Dew for allowing us to use Gleason Forum Hall this evening. We would like to thank the Covington's Women's Club for assisting with the event as well, and we'd also like to thank the local media for being here tonight to stream the candidates forum for us. Thank you to Nancy Moga and Anita Profit for serving on the review panel for us, and to John Fitzgerald for serving as the timer this evening. We ask that everyone silence their phones at this time. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce David Crozier, who will serve as the moderator for this evening.
That microphone's horrible.
Good evening. Lord have mercy. Want to thank you for being here this evening. Want to thank Jerry with the Alleghany Journal and the Virginia Review for live streaming. You give me the word. Hold on. Is this one on? Luckily, I've got a big mouth. So, thank you, Tammy. So while we're waiting, we'll go on and get started. Oh, I hear myself. Want to thank you again for being here. Want to really thank the Alleghany Highlands Chamber of Commerce and Tourism for the series of candidate forums they've had this year. And I want to thank the three candidates, and I'll introduce them here in just a second. We have got a lot of questions to go through. If you have one, you can submit it. I'm not sure if we'll get to it, but we'll do the best we can. A little bit of housekeeping here. I do ask that you remain respectful to all of the candidates up here. This is not an easy thing to do. So I ask that you please be respectful to them, because if not, you will be shown the door. We're not going to have any kind of monkey business with this. So, all that being said, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the participants tonight. Starting in the middle, we have Mr. Jay Woodson. He is running as a write-in candidate for the City of Covington seat on the Alleghany Highlands School Board. If you'll please give him a round of applause. And running for the Alleghany County seat on the school board, we have incumbent Jacob Wright. If you'll please give him a round of applause. And we have challenger down on the end, Mr. Bob Umstead, a retired educator. Here's how the format will go this evening. Here in just a second, we're going to start in alphabetical order, and each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves and give an opening statement. Then we'll move into the question and answer portion of the evening, and with each of those, we'll rotate with the candidates, and they will have 2 minutes to answer the questions before we move to the next one. At the end, after we've been through every question, then each candidate will get 3 minutes to sum up their campaign, and when we do that, we will start in reverse alphabetical order to go through that. So, that being said, let's get started. We're going to start with the 1-minute opening statement portion. And to start this evening, Mr. Umstead.
That's alphabetical order?
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all were down on the low end of the alphabet.
Yeah. All right, good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you for coming out. I think this is a very important thing for our school system, for our county. I bring a unique perspective. If I'm elected to the school board, I've been an educator for 52 years, 40 of it in this building right here. I understand education, special education, athletics, transportation, anything better than anybody I know in this county, especially special ed law. I think I could be of great service to the kids, the teachers, and the parents. Central office, I can be great help with them and the administrators in the building. I hear a lot of things. I think I can help a lot. My best skill, honest to God, even though I talk a lot, is listening. I can listen to people and tell you whether they're telling me the truth or not telling me the truth. And I'm not afraid to say anything to anybody when it affects a child. The reason I'm running is because I care about the kids of this county so they can go get a job and continue to pay my Social Security. Life is pretty simple. We have to teach them how to read, do math, and a lot of other things. The greatest joy I had in teaching is going to the elementary schools on the first day of school and seeing the excitement of little kids coming to school to learn how to read. And then 5 years later, I'd see those same kids struggling. And kids would even tell me, I can't read. My promise to you guys is I'm going to push for every kid that leaves this school system, if not handicapped, to be able to read at least on a 9th grade level. I don't care about the SOLs. That doesn't do anything at all for teaching kids. I care about the kids that want to learn. And I'm going to push for the vocational school because I believe we need skilled trades in this county. And there are jobs all over this part of the state for skilled trades.
Okay, and I did leave one thing off, and Bob, that was not your fault, that was mine. When you see this young man down here, John Fitzgerald, put his hand up, you've got 30 seconds left, and when he stands up, time is up. That was my fault.
Did you put your hand up, John?
I did. If I step closer, you'll get this evening. So I will try not to interrupt, but thank you.
That's fine.
I do apologize that I did leave that out. Second up, we have Mr. Jay Woodson. Jay, 1 minute.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you all for being here. Again, our kids' education is one of the priorities that I think we all have and need to have. I'm Jay Woodson. I'm a lifelong resident of this area, as is my wife. We both graduated from Covington High School. My son graduated from Alleghany High School, and I currently have a daughter who's a 9th grader at Alleghany High School. The reason I'm seeking to be on the school board, I've been on the school board on 2 separate occasions. Grand total of, I think, 13 years. So I have a vested interest in the youth of our area. It's a big part of my adult life, following those kids, coaching sports, and participating in the school board. I want to see our school thrive, not just survive. And so I'm anxious to get to work and appreciate any support. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, 1 minute.
Good evening.
Yours
Good
works.
evening. We all right there?
Yeah.
Good evening, I'm Jacob Wright. I currently serve on the Alleghany Highlands Public Schools School Board. I grew up in this community. I went to Boiling Springs Elementary School. I went to Clifton Forge Middle School in Clifton Forge in the former high school. It was my favorite year of all my schooling, by the way. I attended Alleghany High School where I graduated in 1996. Upon graduation, I moved to Washington, D.C. I went to school at the Corcoran College of Art and Design, which is part of George Washington University. After that, I worked at business in North Carolina for a while and ended up coming back to this area. And when I came back to this area, I applied for several jobs and found out I didn't have enough experience for folks around here. So I went back to school. I was in a program where I went to school full-time and worked full-time. I moved off to Richmond. I started a business there. Came back to this community in 2011, and that's when Boiling Springs and Bowling Springs were closing. I was upset about what was going on, and a school board seat opened up in my district, vacated by the late Patsy McKinney. So I've been on the school board ever since. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, we are now going to start the question and answer portion. Mr. Umstead, we're going to start with you. You have 2 minutes. What leadership qualities do you bring that will help foster unity and collaboration in the newly consolidated school system?
I believe that it does work. I believe that the qualities I possess are simple. I have coached football, girls volleyball, track, and you have to have some skills to be able to do that. Produced a lot of kids that had a lot of success. As a matter of fact, to date, there were 51 of them that were named All-State. That has nothing to do with what I do now. I'm good at communicating with people and telling what needs to be done and not needs to be done. I helped develop Special Olympics in 1983 here with Gary Conaway, not Conaway, can't remember his last name now, and Dusty Knuckles. I worked with WRE, I was the president of that for a few years. I'm good at organizing, getting people together and believing they can do things. I'm not afraid to tell you when you're doing something wrong. But in doing that, I'm not afraid to help you when you need help to get it done right. I think what we need now are leaders that listen. And I use the word transparency. I think a lot of people use it. There's a difference between using it and actually being it. I'm very transparent. My life is an open book to anybody that wants to read it. If you're that boring, I'll write it for you. Life is simple. We have to educate our kids. We have to find the money to do it and take care of them and convince them to come back to school. Done.
Mr. Woodson, what leadership qualities do you bring that will help foster unity and collaboration in the newly consolidated school system?
I've been blessed to be a part of a lot of tremendous teams in my adult life. I was sitting here thinking after hearing this question. You know, when you have a good team and you have a good leader, it really comes down to communication and respecting each other. I think, you know, our system is now merged. That's done. Finally, thank goodness, right? So now it's time for us to, after we've had a chance to kick the tires for a year or two, right? We gotta figure out how to make it the most efficient and thriving school system that we can together. That's the task. It's no longer about us, them, those, and so forth. It's about us. It's about we jointly. So I think my ability to listen and to communicate clearly and have respect for everyone involved will actually lead to a functioning school board that actually starts to produce things that make our system thrive.
Okay, Mr. Wright, what leadership qualities do you bring that will help foster unity and collaboration in the newly consolidated school system?
I believe that my ability to work together with other folks is probably my strong point in leadership. Since I've been on the school board, I was elected vice chairman of the Alleghany School Board that I served 2 years by my peers on the school board. I was chairman of the Alleghany School Board for the final 2 years and chairman of the Alleghany Highlands Public Schools the first 2 years. I've been chair of the JRTC school board. But I think my strong suit would definitely be bringing people together. You know, we've recently gone through the consolidation process. There were members on our Joint School Services Committee, two from the City of Covington, two from the Alleghany Board of Supervisors, two from the City of Covington Public Schools, and two from the Alleghany Public Schools. And we all worked together for one goal, and that was to help the kids of our community. We made really tough decisions. You know, we've had to turn our cheek quite a few times. Not everybody's been happy with the decisions, but we made the decisions. And they were decisions that needed to be made for this community. So I feel like that is one of my strong suits, is being able to bring people together. Thank you.
Okay, question number 2. Jay, we'll start with you. How would you address concerns about school safety and security, and are you in favor of metal detectors in schools?
Are you in favor? Is that what you?
Yeah, how would you address concerns about school safety and security, and are you in favor of metal detectors in schools?
I think we are very blessed with the fact that we still have resource officers in our schools. I think everyone was very supportive. The localities were very supportive of that. As far as having metal detectors in our school system, I guess I'm not there yet. I still believe that we can have a secure school system, perhaps without those. I think one of the big things that I want to focus on as we progress is more focus on character type of activities and ownership. I want our faculty, our student body, I want them to reach a point where they feel like they own our system jointly together. Because right now I still feel like there's a little of that lagging behind. And so, again, I think the character focus, I actually agree with the limitations of the use of phones in our schools. I think that's a good move, and it has been studied and proven that phone usage creates opportunity for cyberbullying and anxiety that is not necessary in our schools. So I'd have a hard time at this point arguing for metal detectors. I think I'd have to see a lot more information for me to put together an argument in that manner, but I do believe we need a lot more focus on the development of character and responsibility.
Okay, Jacob, how would you address concerns about school safety and security, and are you in favor of metal detectors in the schools?
I'm not in favor of metal detectors in schools. I've had, since I've been on the board, we've had quite a few tragedies in this country. We have researched a lot of different things. I've researched a lot of things personally. Metal detectors oftentimes give you a false sense of security. And I think a lot of school systems throughout the state and the country would attest to that. I know there are some school systems in the eastern part of the state that installed metal detectors that have since taken them out. Metal detectors are not foolproof. In January of 2024, I met with the newly elected sheriff and talked to him about resource officers. We are blessed to have resource officers in our schools. During one of the school shootings about 6 years ago, the Alleghany School Board and the Alleghany Board of Supervisors had an emergency meeting because we felt like we all needed to have coverage in all of our buildings. And at one time, we had school resource officers in our buildings, but we didn't have them there all the time, and they were getting pulled out to do things. And since then, we've had great attendance from our school resource officers. And our sheriff was very concerned that he wanted to make sure that we had people in our positions as school resource officers that could do the job if there was ever an emergency. And he, as the new sheriff, he wanted to come in and evaluate these folks. I believe that our school resource officers are a great benefit for students, because not only are they there to protect our students, but they also give the children someone to go to in case they ever need it, if they have an emergency or need someone to talk to in that kind of position. Thank you.
Bob, how would you address concerns about school safety and security, and are you in favor of metal detectors in the schools?
I'm a firm believer that when you think everything is all right, it's when it's going to blow up in your face. I think you have to protect the kids. I think we're fortunate. I don't know all the resource officers, but the ones I know are very child orientated. They work with the kids, talk with the kids, involved with the kids. One of the problems I have, and I don't know if anything would fix this, is when something happens in the school, I think we have to become, the word transparency is very high on my list. If something happens, let's own up to it. Let's deal with it. Let's fix it. Don't pretend like it didn't happen. Because all that does is turn people against you, and they don't trust you. And if I'm not mistaken, one of the biggest things we need in public education is trust. You tell me something, I'm going to believe it until you tell me something that I don't believe, and I can prove it wrong. I do not think metal detectors give you, I think they give you a false sense of security, and people don't do their jobs. I think we have to rely on our guidance counselors, our building personnel, our teachers, to make sure that our kids understand what we need. No weapons in school, that's all there is to it. Don't carry knives to school, that's all there is to it. And also cell phones, all there is to it. But we have to be honest with each other. Our biggest problem right now is not violence in school, it's getting kids to come to school. And the people that are doing homeschooling tell me that they're nervous about their kids coming to school. That's a problem. We've got to fix that so our kids and their parents feel safe with them being at school. And I don't know if metal detectors or anything else are going to make them do that. I'm a firm believer the truth will set you free. It'll make it better. Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all. Question number 3. We'll start with Jacob. As a school board member, what would your budget priorities be?
As a school board member, what would my budget priorities be? Well, that's an interesting question, because as a school board member, you have to have balance. You have to be able to balance the students, the staff, and the taxpayers. If one of them is out of line, it can cause the other ones to have problems. And that is a fine line that we walk, because we are funded so heavily by the state and by the federal government that we have to be careful what we do to change in our budget. Luckily, over the past several years, we've been able to give our teachers raises. We've been able to offer our students more opportunities, all while having level funding through our local governments. You know, we live in an area that is that we can't afford to spend but so much money on our schools. We've been lucky that the state has come through and really helped us out. This year we had an increase in our allotment from our local composite index from the state. We've also recently received quite a few we've received $3.5 million from the legislators. We've been happy to have COVID money recently that we've been able to spend on a lot of our capital improvement projects. And that has been a great win for us locally. But what we need is, at the end of the year, we need to be able to put our excess, whatever we have left over in our budget, into a capital improvement program, so that when we do have problems with our infrastructure, we're able to use it and we don't have to go back to our localities for that. That's one of the things that we need to shore up with the consolidation. Thank you.
Bob,
Yep.
as a school board member, what would your budget priorities be?
Well, as a person that taught here for so long, one of my main priorities is keeping teachers here, keeping them happy, keeping their morale up. Most of you guys that are teachers, I'm going to mention a name, Teddy Wheeler. He called me day before yesterday. He just got his first paycheck for this year working in Montgomery County, Maryland. Has less education than I do, and 10 years less experience than I have. And this year he'll draw $110,000. Since 2008, there was a freeze on teachers' education in this county, or whole state, basically. We gotta make that up to the teachers. I don't care what we do, if we do not have qualified people in the building that are certified, that can do their jobs, we're losing them. We can paint all the buildings and do everything we want to do. We need qualified teachers, and to me, that's my #1 priority. Teachers and teacher salaries. We ask them to do probably 40% of what they actually have to do. And most of them do it with a smile on their face and moaning all the way, but they still do it. My top priority is teacher salaries and hiring qualified, good teachers. Thank you.
Okay, Jay, as a school board member, what would your budget priorities be?
So that's a great question. I think when it's timely, the money that the localities gained, I guess from the merger, those funds are ending or have ended by now. I think the COVID funding obviously has ended, so it's gone for the most part. So this will become an even bigger question probably moving forward than it has been in the recent past, at least. But keep in mind, we talk about the state giving us money, we talk about the localities giving us money, we talk about the federal government giving us money. Well, I gave them that money, and you gave them that money. It's our money. Don't forget that. So I think we need to take a step back, take a little more local control over the things that we can control, and lobby for more things that we can control. But then we need to use, I think, our frontline staff, meaning teachers, meaning bus drivers, meaning cafeteria workforce, maintenance workforce. What I found in my most recent stint on the school board is we don't involve the folks that are actually doing the job pretty much anywhere. So that was just disturbing to me. In the past, we had always used those folks to help us figure out what each department's budget needed to be. And it didn't feel like we did that this most recent stint, and I want to get back to that. So I think it's going to be a big task. It's going to be the major task, I think, of the school board, and fortunately, project budgets, and things of that nature are what I thrive to do, right? So I problem solve projects 24 hours a day, so I'm looking forward to the opportunity to roll up my sleeves and work with the school board members to get this done.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, when you see John stand up, time's up. All righty, question number 4. We're going to start with Bob on this one. Even with the governor's recent efforts to raise teacher pay, Virginia still ranks 24th in the country for teacher salary, putting the Commonwealth teacher $6,641 below the estimated national average. How will you work to raise teacher compensation for the Alleghany Highlands school system?
Can I pass? Well, like Jay said, we're limited in what we can do. We're limited in what we can do. Maybe we have to be creative and come up with other ways, other than finances, to give teachers some sort of compensation. Something interesting, and this might not have anything to do with it, but if I'm not mistaken, there are 130, 230 kids that are homeschooled. Multiply that times 7,000, that's over $2 million. If we got all our homeschool kids back in school, we could probably do something to help something out. I don't believe you can get blood out of a rock. I think you can cut corners and do what you want to do. Bus drivers have to drive their buses, the gas costs, all these things are somewhat stable. We're trying to make up for things that have happened over the past 15 years of neglect toward teacher salaries. I don't think you can do it in 1 year. Young teachers that are here that I know want to stay here. We've got to find ways to entertain to get them to stay. And I don't know if money's always the answer. I really don't know. But my wife and I have a balance that we live off of, which is pretty good. If we don't have it, you don't have it. You can't pay people what you don't have. The state's been very generous, but we can't build up a teacher's salary off of what the state gave us and then come back next year, because the last thing I'll do is take it back. We'll have to find ways to help teachers out, and maybe there's other ways other than money. And if you're going to ask me what that is, I have no idea. A previous place when I was on the school board, they gave teachers 3 days mental health days. They loved that. They didn't take a raise that year, but they took the 3 days of mental health. Thank you.
Jay, how will you work to raise teacher compensation for the Alleghany Highlands school system?
Yes, I think it's very, very much connected to the previous question, because I do think, I think you have a finite amount of money, and obviously you have various priorities. But what I would say is I think the governor budget did come through with some increase for the teachers. To someone's point earlier about, I think Mr. Umstead's point earlier about qualified teachers, right? You can have trailers surrounding your school, but as long as you have qualified teachers, you can make an impact to a child's life. That is the key, right? I think if in fact our priority is the education of the youth of the area, teachers are a priority. Now that's not to say that we want to end up with that kind of situation going on, but I do think the teachers have to be the priority. And as far as figuring out, you know, is the compensation salary or is the compensation something else? Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Let's communicate. You know, we can listen to our staff and see what would make sense and tell them exactly what we're capable of doing and what is possible. But then also take input from them about, okay, if it's not my base salary, then it could be 2-day mental health off or something. So again, it's clear communication, honest communication, and absolute cooperation.
Okay, Jacob, how will you work to raise teacher compensation for the Alleghany Highlands school system?
Well, first of all, I would like to refer to it as staff, because without bus drivers, custodians, central office folks, all of those folks, they all come together. They're all a part of our school system. They're all what makes our school system work. I'm pleased to say that every year I've been on the school board, we've been able to match locally what the governor has offered as far as raises. You know, it takes a lot. Sometimes they offer 6%, but we have to stomach 3% of it. But we also, it's only for certain people. You know, this area we have, it takes the maximum amount in every classroom. It's state minimums. That's what they fund. I think one of the things we have to do is we have to make the working environment as good a place as we possibly can for the folks. We have to know their currency, which means, I got cut off. We have to know their currency, which means that it's not necessarily all about dollars. You know, recently we merged our schools, and one of our school bus trips seemed extremely long in the Falling Springs district. And Mr. Littleton and I, on the first day of school, we hopped on that school bus because we wanted to see how long of a bus ride that was. Because we didn't want that bus driver to quit on us because he had too long of a bus ride. And so we got on the bus, we rode the bus. It was a wonderful experience. The bus driver did a wonderful job. It was a little bit shorter than advertised, but they ended up tweaking some things. And so when we got off the bus, I asked the bus driver, what can we do to get more bus drivers? Because we don't have enough bus drivers currently. I said, do we have to pay more money? What do we need to do? And he said, you need to make it a better experience for people. And one of the things he suggested was air conditioning on buses. We start the school year in the middle of August, the beginning of August now, and it's hot. It can be 100 degrees. Students and the bus drivers don't like it when it's 100 degrees. This year we've been able to have 3 new air conditioned buses.
All right, question number 5. And Jake, we're going to start with you on this one.
Yes, sir.
How will you engage with parents, teachers, and community members to ensure their voices are heard in the decision-making process?
Great question, and one of the things that I've said for a while, I guess since my last stint, was parent involvement. And I saw a decline in that, I guess, when COVID started, and I don't think we've recovered that or a lot of other things too. But I absolutely firmly believe that parent involvement is going to be key to having a system that thrives. I oftentimes come to our parent-teacher conference day. Now, I've been blessed. My kids work pretty hard and they do pretty well in class, and I'm proud of them, obviously. But I come anyway, right? I come regardless. They don't get in trouble. But I come anyway. But boy, I am stunned every year when I come to the parent-teacher conference and I see 2 people show up, or maybe 3 or 4. And you can ask some of our kids' gym teachers. I make it a point to go talk to the gym teacher. Right? I want to see every teacher my kid has, if they're there that day. I want to see the administrators that day. I want to find out how my kid's acting at lunch. And we need every parent in our county to do that. No exceptions, right? I mean, it's hard to do it, you know, to be involved when you're working sometimes 3 jobs. I get it. I understand. We need involvement of the parents. We need to make it a priority as individuals. We need to make it possible as a school system for all parents to be involved. I think it is the difference maker. It is keys to the kingdom.
Okay. Jacob, how will you engage with parents, teachers, and community members to ensure their voices are heard in the decision-making process?
Well, we are representatives of the people, and we are elected to this board. We've been appointed in the past. We've been in the old Alleghany, we were in districts. So we were elected by those, or appointed by those districts, but now we are the whole community all together. And, you know, we are here to represent the community, and I feel like sometimes people kind of forget who we are and forget that we're actually just members of the community. We're the same people that we've always been. You know, I have people that call me all the time for things, but you have to be careful about some of your engagement with people, because there are certain things that you don't want to hear. If it's an item that's going to come before a school board, then you need to be able to tell them, hey, maybe you don't want to tell me this, you need to talk to your principal, you need to talk to the superintendent. But I'm always available for suggestions to folks, things we can do better. You know, I have a lot of people that contact me all the time and influence what I do and the decisions I make. Parents are such an important part of this process. I wish we could get many more parents involved. If we could get more parents involved, I think our school system would be in a better place. If I had the solution on how we get all these parents involved, it would solve a lot of problems in our whole country. But one of the things we do is we get the students involved, get the students wanting to come to school, and that's how they convince their parents that they want to be a part of it. Because if a student doesn't want to come to school, it's hard for a parent to get them to come to school.
Okay, and to you, Bob, how will you engage with parents, teachers, and community members to ensure their voices are heard in the decision-making process?
It's an interesting question to me. As I taught in CMS for 37 or whatever I taught there, I was always impressed with the fact of how important it was to have parent-teacher conference days, 2 of them a year, and hardly anybody showed up. And I had special ed kids, and I probably at one time had 12. My parents never showed up. I would call my parents at least once a week to tell them how thankful I was they were getting their kids to school. Their kids were not causing me any grief. In the 39 years I worked at Alleghany, I never had to write a kid up because I communicated. I think those people that say they communicated are either fooling themselves or not telling the truth. If I reach my hand out and somebody grabs it and I pull them up and help them, they're going to communicate with me. People want somebody to listen and respond to what they do. I don't know if we listen well. I know we don't respond well. I've said it a million times. Our greatest resource are the kids that walk these halls in our buildings in our school system. Do we appreciate the fact they're there? I don't know. I did. When I was here at CMS, we did as a group because we took pride in taking care of the kids. I'd have parents call me, you can ask Debbie, in the morning to hand me the phone to say, would you tell my kid to get out of bed and come to school? And I would, and they would. You got to sell the product that we want them here. And saying, come on to school, we want you here. That's not going to sell the product. If I get on the school board, I'm going to hold a meeting with every parent and beg them to send their kids to school. Attendance is the most important thing in the world. As Luke Bradley will tell you, if you're not in my class, you can't learn. Thank you.
Okay, question number 6, and we'll start with Jacob on this one. Since the consolidation took place last year, there have been many transportation issues. How do you plan to address these issues, including very long bus rides?
That's what brought me on the school board. When they closed Boiling and Falling Spring School, our kids were bused across the county, past schools to get to schools. You know, it was an unfair thing that we were doing to our kids just based on county and city lines. And I promised the people of Falling Springs and Boiling, the Potts Creek area, that I was going to make a difference in their bus rides and transportation, and I think I have. You know, it's hard for folks to drive their kids to school. Unfortunately, since COVID, we've had a nationwide shortage of bus drivers. Like I said earlier, you know, I met with one of the bus drivers and he told me one of the things we could do to improve his working conditions was have air conditioning on a bus. That's a one-time expense on a bus. And we buy school buses every year and rotate our fleet. So if we can start having 3 buses with air conditioning this year, and we can have 6 next year, and we can keep adding to that. You know, if I'm on a school bus and it's 100 degrees on the school bus, I'm going to be wild. We're going to have all these windows down, and people are going to be loud, and people are, you know, the bus driver is just going to be trying to concentrate. They have so much responsibility on their hands. And we need those people to be comfortable, we need them to be attentive, and that's one of the things that we can really do by making our situations better for our bus drivers. As far as getting bus drivers, we welcome anyone to please apply to be a bus driver. I was renewing my license this summer, and there were 2 people in front of me getting their bus driver's license. I was so excited. I think it's a noble position to be in, and I commend all of our bus drivers that we have now. I just hope we can get some more. But I think the way we get more is by knowing their currency and making their job conditions better. Thank you.
Bob, how do you plan to address transportation issues within the school system, including very long bus rides?
Well, as a person that can't drive because of my vision, I don't know. And I think the bottom line to me is, I know about 10 or 15 of the bus drivers, and they're absolutely the best. And a lot of them say simple things. You know, I picked up the kids today, and the building principal didn't even say hi to me. That bother you? No, it didn't bother me the first time, but by about the 10th time it bothered me a little bit. I think bus drivers want a little bit more respect. When I was president of the Teachers Association, I had a program that showed Alleghany bus drivers were some of the best paid bus drivers in the state of Virginia. Bus drivers want respect. I just don't drive the kids. I take care of them. I discipline them. I deal with them. I don't want to go through a bunch of stuff when I tell you the kid's causing me a problem. One bus driver suggested, let's hire the teachers, put an aide on the bus, so I don't have to deal with issues. I don't know if it's feasible or not. I taught in a classroom while I was looking right at the kids. As a bus driver, your back's to the kids. It's hard to discipline when you're going down the road 40 miles an hour and the kid's up throwing paper at somebody or hitting somebody. It's a thankless job. So I think we ought to show a little bit of respect and dignity toward our bus drivers and make them feel they are the most important things in our school system. They're the first one the kid sees and the last one that drops them off at night. And we ought to treat them that they're that important. Thank you.
And to you, Jay, how do you plan to address transportation issues within the school system, including very long bus rides?
Again, for me, it goes back to involvement. I think, I know several of the bus drivers as well. I think they believe that the routes could be more efficient and can be more efficient. Also agree, I think conditions are a big factor in it, not only air conditioning, but as Mr. Umstead pointed out, discipline. I think a lot of them struggle, right, with driving the bus safely, getting to a particular point on time, and also keeping the children under a ruling condition, which is very stressful, right? And one of the ideas I had, and I'm not sure if it's feasible or not, but I certainly plan on pursuing it, but it would be some assistance from our administration to randomly participate on bus rides periodically. You know, the frequency of such a process, I'm not sure. It could be worked out, but if you had administrators at all levels participate randomly on bus rides, maybe the discipline would correct itself over a period of time. Again, it goes back to character, it goes back to responsibility and ownership. You know, we want to keep the best bus drivers we can. We want them to be involved. We want them to own the process, and we want them to be supported by the administration. So, again, it starts with getting them involved.
Okay. For question number 7, we're going to start with Bob. As a school board member, when a parent or student contacts you with an issue, what would be the first thing you would do?
Well, I wouldn't hang up on them. I'd answer the phone. I would go over the process that I have done it for years. Have you talked to the person you have the problem with? Have you gone to the building principal? Come to me kind of as a last resort, but please burn the other bridges. Talk to the people, find out what's going on, and then come and tell me the story. I'm willing to listen, and I've been fortunate that when I listen and to tell people what to do, probably 90% of the time they do it, the problem solved. I don't think you should solve a problem or address a parent the moment they call you because they're heated and you'll probably get heated. You're not going to solve the problem. So I usually tell them, I'll call you back tomorrow morning, we'll talk about it. By the time I call them back, no, we don't have an issue. My husband and I talked it over, it's not a problem. I still think the greatest gift we have is communication. And a lot of the people I deal with in this school system better take a class in communication because they don't seem to get it. I've got a list at home of over 130 people that have told me they have called a school building in this county after 4 o'clock and no one will answer the phone. That's kind of weird to me. I thought they worked till 5. Don't know. Can't be afraid of the people you serve. You gotta work with them, take care of the problems, and be aggressive. Don't let them run you over, but do what's right. And answer the phone. Please come into my office tomorrow, we'll talk about this. Got no problem with them. Got no problem at all.
Okay. Jay, as a school board member, when a parent or student contacts you with an issue, what would be the first thing you would do?
Yeah, I think it depends on the issue, right? So I mean, a lot of times, you're contacted as a board member. It maybe is a suggestion, right? Sometimes it could be a problem or disciplinary issue or something of that nature, which in that case you would suggest that they begin with where the problem occurred and work through the proper channels. But if it's a suggestion or if it's something that pertains to the board, action of the board or something of that nature, I think you got to listen first, right? Before you say, hey, call so and so. I think you listen to hear what the problem is, and then depending on what it is, you address it properly through the proper channels. And that proper channel might in fact be the person that you're talking to, right? You might, they may have a problem with you, as an example. So listen, determine what it is, suggest that the flow of communication is handled in a way that's appropriate, and move on. I do think that the board needs to be more available to community input, be it a call or individuals that show up to school board meetings. I think we have made it too rigid, too difficult for our community to participate in meetings. I recall being on city council a long, long time ago, and those meetings would go into the wee hours of the morning, but everyone was heard. And so, work needs to happen.
Okay, and Jacob, as a school board member, when a parent or student contacts you with an issue, what would be the first thing you would do?
So the first thing would, if someone was to contact me, I would ask them if it was a discipline matter. And if it was a discipline matter that could come before a school board. We have discipline hearings on the school board, and we like to be like a juror and not hear from one side or another. We don't hear anything from the school side, or we don't hear anything from the student side until everyone has a fair opportunity to speak in front of us. We're like jurors. If it's a question, most of the time people call me and they just ask, who do I call about something? And there's a specific chain of command. I say, well, have you talked to your child's teacher? And if they said they've talked to the teacher and they don't get any results there, have you talked to your child's principal? If they've talked to the principal, usually it doesn't get that far. But if they talk to the principal and they don't have any luck, then I send them to the superintendent. And our school board is kind of our last ditch effort because we're not in the schools every day. We aren't part of the day-to-day operations. If it's an emergency, it's some sort of thing that's happened, some sort of trauma situation, that sort of thing. As school board members, we're all mandatory reporters, and we have to report to the proper authorities. And unfortunately, I've had to do that on some of the calls I've gotten. You know, we are representatives of the people, but we want to give everybody a fair opportunity, and we want to do what's right. But most of the time, people are calling, and they just want easy guidance of who to talk to.
Okay, and this will be our final question for the evening. We'll start with Jay on this one. Is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Alleghany Highlands School Board?
I have to say no. I think it's holistic. I voted for consolidation in the past. I guess was my excitement for the school system was re-energized when we finally made it reality. But I do think, you know, having been somewhat involved in some of the work leading into the consolidation, it felt like we were focused on perhaps, you know, mascot and team colors a bit more, and curriculum and process a bit less. And so I think it's time to double down. It's time to re-energize the effort. As again, I think we can have a system that thrives, that is built to last for a long, long time. And I think you do that a brick at a time, but you got to start with priorities. And I'm energized about our system, and I want to help to build a system that thrives for many, many years moving forward.
Okay, Jacob, is there a particular issue that motivates you to serve on the Alleghany Highlands School Board?
Yes. I feel, I just heard in one of the Clifton Forge forums, someone said, consolidation should have happened 25 years ago. Well, it probably should have happened 50 years ago. But I've committed the past 11 years to making sure this happens. And I want to see it through. I want to make sure that it's the right thing for the students, the teachers, and our community. And I think everyone feels that that is what's right. But I don't want to risk messing anything up at this point. I would like to get us on the even keel. I'd like to be a part of adding the extra opportunities for students. I'd like to be able to add the things that get students interested in coming back to school, knowing their currency. You know, I would like to see us add all of these things. Now we have a chance to get it off on the right foot, and I believe I could be a great part in that. Thank you.
Okay, and to you, Bob, is there a particular issue that motivates you to want to serve on the Alleghany Highlands School Board?
Yes. I'm going to tell you the first one, and it's kind of weird. If I'm elected, I'll be the first person elected that was never on the school board before. Everybody else has been appointed. If I'm elected, my life is simple. I want to see why the band is so small. I want to know why we don't put kids ahead of everything we deal with. Every conversation we have should end with, how's this going to affect the kids? Have the kids been involved in this? I think the easiest question to ask, in my household, I dare not buy anything unless my wife knows about it. Communication means sharing, working together, and listening. I don't know if we do those three things in harmony or we do them at all. I think people make decisions off of what they want not what is needed. I care about the kids. I think we ought to listen to the kids. The kids, somewhere in the Bible, I think the children will lead you. We haven't given them the opportunity. And I just want the kids to have a good time. I don't know about the rest of you, but my 4 years of high school, if heaven's like that, I'm ready to go. I had a great time. I don't know if our kids are having a great time. I don't know if they're having fun. I want to bring back fun, enjoyable to the school system. And like my 4 of my daughters said, Dad, bring back a band that has 200 people in it. Why don't we? Don't know. I do know. But I will not share that today. All of us in this room are here for the kids. The new teachers I see, Lord, why would you go into education except for the kids? Sure ain't the money. And those are the people I want teaching, the people that want to care for the kids. Thank you.
Alrighty, that will close the question and answer portion for tonight. We will now go into final statements. We went in alphabetical order going in. We will go in reverse alphabetical order going back. Sorry, Jay, you're still in the middle. You will have 3 minutes, and encourage you to explain your candidacy once again and explain why you're running for office. And we'll start with you, Jacob.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate everyone being here. It's a small crowd, but you should see how small some of our school board meeting crowds are. If elected, there are 3 things that I would really like to concentrate on. My first thing is attendance. Attendance is so important to everything we do in this school system, whether it's staff attendance or student attendance. Last year, we had 600 unexcused, unpaid staff absences, which is horrible to think that all these people are not getting paid for over 600 days of not being at work. Our student attendance, you can't learn if you're not in school. We need to create things that help students learn. We need to create things that make students want to come to school. I'm a big proponent of wanting to have a wheel class in our middle school that offers all of the things we offer at JRTC in small quantities. I believe that JRTC is the key to economic development in our area, and I believe kids don't know what they want until they've tried it. I could remember being in a technology wheel in 8th grade at Clifton Middle School, and I did typing, couldn't stand it. I did a technology class with Mr. Cantrell, one of my favorite classes I ever took, and I did a cooking class with Jackie Cheatham. I didn't realize I liked to cook until I took that class. It was a great experience for me, and I believe kids should have those experiences. I believe we should offer those experiences. We have a real shortage of labor in this area, but we have some great people that have graduated from JRTC that are doing fabulous. We have students that are making $100,000 a year or two out of high school just with training they've gotten at JRTC. It is so important that we train our kids and give them the opportunity. With attendance, you know, like I say, I keep preaching that knowing someone's currency. I was in Tractor Supply back last spring, and I was talking to Wayne Persinger, who's one of our teachers, and he used that term, knowing your currency, and I believe it's so correct. It's a term that I've always searched for, but didn't know the term that I wanted to use. But we have to know people's currency. We have to know what makes people tick. We have to get kids excited about coming to school, so they try to push their parents to make sure they get to school. You know, we have to do whatever we can. I've been proud to serve our community for the past 11 years. I'm proud to be the representative of 17 school districts on the Virginia School Board Association Board of Directors. I'm a voice for this area in Richmond and Charlottesville, and I believe that I can help us get more funding and more opportunities for our students as we go forward. Thank you all very much. I appreciate everyone being here.
Okay, Jay.
So, thanks everyone for being here tonight. I think anytime you have opportunity to show interest in the school systems or the local government, you should take that opportunity. As mentioned earlier, I have experience of being on the school board as well as Covington City Council in the past. I'm a firm believer in we need to get back an amount of local control in our system. I believe we should write our own policy manual. So, it's one of the things I mentioned previously when on school board. I think our student body, we need to double down our efforts and reinstitute character education and discipline. Extracurricular activities should be an earned privilege, not necessarily a guarantee, so that our kids really show ownership in our system. I think while most of the world and the country is lowering standards as a result of COVID learning loss, I don't believe that. I think we need to raise our standards. I'm not a big fan of SOLs. I think our teachers are more creative and probably better testers than someone that just prints out a document. But I also am not in favor of lowering any standards. I think you double down and you grind and you figure out how to get back to where we were, and it is doable. People will rise to the expectations that are placed on them. So we need to raise those expectations. I think all of the things I mentioned are only capable if we involve the staff that are actually doing the work. Too often we have preconceived ideas just because we heard that it's a national trend or a state trend. Our community is unlike any other community in the world. It's our community. And we need to take the ownership of the community. I believe we need to be as efficient as we can with the assets that we're entrusted with, and spend the money that is our money as wisely as we can to offer more things to our student body, which would include additional vocational education opportunities, which would include more college level courses in high school, et cetera, et cetera. I think, if you focus on the process and the work at hand, and the end result usually take care of itself. And so it will be a lot of work. I'm ready for it. I appreciate everyone in the city of Covington writing me, Jay Woodson, for school board representative. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Bob.
2 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay. To me, life is simple. Kids want to read, we teach them how to read. That's our job. Bus drivers, who I have a ton of respect for, get them here. They do a lot of things. I think, at least the people that I deal with in the school system, the morale is absolutely not positive. They dread things. I've always found it interesting when a building principal has to come and tell us the superintendent's coming around, make sure you're doing your job. Lord, what do I do when they're not there? We have to put faith back in people. Treat people with respect and dignity. I think the AEA, I'm hoping that they're negotiating for next year and helping things out, because they're the voice of the teachers. We have to know, sorry Jeff, we have to know what Jeff Irvin wants to do as a custodian to help him out. If we don't talk to him, we don't know. The teachers, we don't know. And it's really weird, all teachers are different. You've got elementary teachers who teach a certain way, higher elementary, middle school, high school, JRTC. At least 5 different groups of teachers. Do we give them what they need? Because generically, they all get the same pay for the same amount of time they've been here. But I still believe in my heart, at least when I was here, money was not the driving force behind teachers being here. Respect. Treat me with dignity. And I worked for, as far as I'm concerned, the best principal this county ever saw, and they wouldn't hire her back. She used to be the principal right down there in that office. I won't mention her name because I don't want to get in trouble. But she knew how to work with people. She treated people all equally. And all she demanded was you do your job. You do your job. You care about the kids. And isn't that why we're here? Aren't the kids the reason we're here? And I'm going to use, this is my last statement probably. A band kid approached me and told me, my mom told me to talk to you. Can you help make our band bigger and better? I said, look, I can't sing, I can't play, I can't do anything. But I probably can. Because I just found out over the past 2 months why the band's not as big as it probably should be. When I get on the school board, I'm going to push for that to change. The bottom line to me is the kid. If 2 adults and a kid come to me, I'm going to listen to the kid first. Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to lie to me. I had a kid once tell me I'd rather take a beating than lie to you. I said, I'm not going to beat you. Well, then I'm not going to lie. I appreciate all of you coming. I appreciate your vote. You know what I stand for. I ain't going to change. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your participation this evening. Please give these candidates a good round of applause. Before we close, once again, thanks to Amy Dew for allowing us to use the facility this evening. Thank you to our question panelists, Ms. Nancy Moga and Anita Prophet. And thank you, as always, to our beloved timer, John Fitzgerald. As we close tonight, we encourage you to go out and vote, and have a good evening.
Thank you.